What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Grind Force Gaming. Nova here, and again, as always, we have Datscat with us. Datscat, what's up?
How we all doing today, guys?
So today was a big day. We had the ending of the Catastrophic Recast event, and we had two new fighters drop, along with the Goku warm-up, or Goken, not Goku, I wish, Goken warm-up event. So with these two new fighters, I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to kind of dive a little bit deeper into them. We did the trials earlier and everything, and I tasked Datscat with selling me Mummy Dhalsim. So let's hear how that goes. What do you think?
Okay, guys. I think that he could be good for a few things. And I think
Okay.
he might be really good for them. Um, I'm talking in the context of a boss fight or a fight where you're going to be fighting the same thing for a long time, and you can really take advantage of all the debuffs that he's putting on something.
Okay.
However, you really need the 6 vehicles and FS30 on him to get there.
Okay. So we're looking at a long-term investment here, time-wise.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean 6 vehicles isn't easy. Um,
No.
uh, Not at all for low spenders or definitely free to play. It's really tough to get 6 vehicles. So,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
I mean, if you don't get the if let's say you have 3 vehicles, then you're at least still doing something. But
sure,
if you don't have
sure.
the 6 vehicles, like you can't start doing a bunch of the cool crit resisting stuff that he's doing.
Right.
It
I mean, he
just
looks pretty cool. I think his animation's pretty cool as well.
he looks sweet,
Yeah.
and I love that he does the stretchy arms for his normal
Yeah.
attack.
That is true. That was the first thing I saw. I was like, "Oh, that's cool.
That's
That's
cool.
sweet that they did that."
However, I think that there's a play to put him on a crit boss fighting squad.
Okay.
Um, and I think you would also want to be putting Summer Ibuki on this squad, but we'll talk about her in a second.
Sure, sure.
But the idea is with Mummy Dhalsim is you have to stack at least 5 stacks of this poison on the enemy to really, really get the full effect of Mummy Dhalsim.
Right.
And in order to stack these things, I would run his C2 because you don't want to miss out on damage by using his C1.
Okay.
But I would be, or I'm sorry, I misspoke. His super, I don't think his super is very good at all. But
Okay.
you need his C2 going off twice in 15 seconds. So you need to put him with somebody who's fast.
Okay.
Summer Ibuki is really fast.
So his C2 is
And
actually pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
at face value, it does decent damage. It's inflicting poison, which, to my knowledge, is the first time we've actually had poison explained in the game. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's reducing speed and it's making them lose HP, and it can stack
yep.
up to 10 times. I mean, you're slowing the enemy team down. So I think that is testament to what you said earlier, where you think is if you're fighting something for a long time, there could be benefit to this.
I think there's really good, really massive benefits to it because you're applying 3 different debuffs if you can get the 5 stacks,
Right.
right? You're
Right.
reducing their speed. You're doing the, I'm sorry, he's so brand new, guys. I have
Yeah.
to look at this.
Yeah. I just pulled up
He's
his vehicles, right? So that's where the
yep, in the
additional,
vehicles.
yeah.
He reduces the speed via the poison.
Mm-hmm.
If they have 5 stacks, the target will receive 50% less healing, so that's a healing debuff, and they will deal 15% less damage, so that's a damage reduction debuff on the enemy at 3 vehicles. At 6 vehicles, they have a crit resist reduction by 20%. So if you're putting her with, let's say, Summer Ibuki, Trendy Cammy, Mummy Dhalsim and Bison out front or Nero out front for some extra crit damage.
Okay.
Nero out front with 6 vehicles would be pretty awesome.
So that
Because he
would just
might
be like a very heavily based speed team because you're including Summer Ibuki, and then you're really looking to buff as much crit as possible.
and reduce the enemy's crit, buff our crit, and with Trendy Cami, hit guaranteed crit.
Okay.
That's the idea with that boss fight. But I don't think he really would shine for PvP. Those fights are over too quickly. I
Right.
don't think he would do well. I mean, if you're gonna put, I don't think he's a good investment. I think there are other characters that I would rather use.
Right.
I mean, unless I had 6 vehicles on him, and that's a huge grind.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sold on his super either. Like you said,
No,
I think he really is a C2 fighter. I mean, I can pull these
yeah.
up and you guys can look at this and read it here real quick. This is the C1. But it seems very conditional. I know you tested with him in the trial a lot more,
Yeah.
way more than I did, because I asked you to cover him. But how did you find the stacking? Like, were you seeing 5 stacks happening?
I did, but the fight was already over by the time it hit 5 stacks.
Okay.
I hit 5 stacks, like, in one battle, I hit 5 stacks on 2 out of the 4 people. But it was
Okay.
right as they were dying.
Okay.
So, how useful is that? Maybe it just guarantees that they're going to die, but if you're going to win the fight.
I mean, if you're trying to stack something
to
knock out enemy fighters, then you may as well just stack shock or stack burn, right? Or
stack
stack armor break. You know, you don't need to be stacking poison.
No.
Okay, so that's interesting. So that definitely makes sense more for like the boss fights, or even in the Clefoth or whatever we just had in Catastrophic Recast. He may have been great for that because that's a long-term
really
fight.
Great for that.
There's AOE potential there. There's better stacking potential.
Yeah.
But bosses don't heal, right? I mean, so that 50% healing reduction you're losing. In the boss
bosses
fights.
don't heal, but you're still getting the other 3 debuffs and then a DOT with the poison.
It's the speed. It's the loss of speed, right? Because one of the things that you could do to make it that fight more difficult was increase the like how much their speed bar fills. So if you have a fighter that's decreasing speed, then you can kind of offset that. So
I think it's really good for boss fight.
Okay.
For Crusade. Not for Shadowlands, but anything where you're fighting a max health thing or the Q event in the Devil May Cry event. Or shoot, what are other ones? Effigy, Clash, battles.
Sure. Yeah, like against the effigy itself.
Boss fights, guys.
Right.
I think that's where Mummy Dhalsim is really going to shine. But I would imagine that you're really far into the game and you've already maxed all the important people before you were even thinking about building somebody like Mummy Dhalsim. So don't fall into that trap.
Right. And this, we're seeing him pretty well built, 6 vehicles, FS30. So he even has his increased crit potential when you're using him in the trial, and we're still not really seeing it land. So I think the PvE, PvP situation is kind of out of the question for him. He may just be a boss unit, but
I think so. C2 boss unit. But speaking of somebody who might be really good for PvP, can we talk about Summer Ibuki now?
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Please,
yeah, I mean, so in short here, Mummy Dhalsim, he feels conditional, which is okay. He is just a normal faction unit, but I think it's going to be very situational. He could be very good with the right team, but sadly with the trials, we can't really test out teams with a maxed unit. We only have certain options. So it's kind of tough to say. Yeah. But Summer Ibuki, I mean,
oof.
I have often wondered, like, I wonder what new mechanics they might bring into the game. I would have never imagined this. Like, this is the first time we're seeing triggered skills on a non-special unit, right? Evil Ryu has this, where his skills trigger automatically. You don't slot them. And Summer Ibuki is doing the same thing with her C1 and C2. The only other fighter that does it is Goroken, and nobody can get him anymore.
Yeah, if it's based all on the C on the combos, then yes, you're correct. I mean, there are
Right.
people that do trigger skills, like, Cammy has some trigger skills,
Well, sure,
and
sure. But as far as
Elena
like,
has a trigger skill at FS30, and
right. As
there are
far
trigger
as
skills in
like
the game.
using them automatically every single time another fighter uses that C1, C2, C3, we only have
It's
two in the
awesome.
game right now. So, well, three, I suppose, if you have Gorken, but if you're new to the game, you don't have access to that. So there's only two. Her super is pretty good. One thing I think we need a little bit of clarification on here is the level 3 section of it, where it says each target increases trigger skill damage by 10%. Is that just for her, or is that for the whole team? Because that would make using her super better. Because if it's just her, it's, there are better supers in the game that you can use. I
Well,
mean, she is increasing speed by 30, but everything else she does is increasing speed. So at some point it becomes unnecessary, right? So I don't know. I don't know about the super. You could certainly open with it if you wanted to get some speed on the board, but I don't think it's necessary. She's also
it
doing,
sounds like a little icing on the cake.
yeah, potentially,
Like, you know, you can have all the speed you want, but at some point, you only need an amount of speed to win.
right?
So you think that just using her without the super, that you're going to be able to obtain the amount of speed needed to win,
I think so.
regardless
Yeah, I
of
think
the
so.
super. Okay.
Yeah, I mean her C1 triggers automatically, so this is already going to happen. She's reducing speed. She's also increasing the attack that she does, the percentage of the attack that she does. Her C2 is pretty much just, doing a little bit of damage. She's doing some AoE with that, but she is increasing your crit rate by 10% for 5 seconds to stacks 3 times. So that's
Oof.
really cool. Crit rate increase. Her passive, um, the amount of speed that she has creates a multiplier, albeit a small one, but creates a multiplier based on her speed that increases her attack. So that just increases her damage. And then the level 4 is really cool. There's a chance for her to attack and deal damage twice. So her passive makes her, if her speed is greater than the target that she's attacking, she deals additional true damage equal to her speed multiplied by, once it's leveled up, by 0.5%. It doesn't sound like a lot, but something interesting about this is that her fighting spirit at level 20, 3 seconds after the fight begins, she gains 120 speed, but loses 3 speed per second thereafter. So it takes 40 seconds for her to even go back to normal. 40 seconds. A lot of fights are done by then. So
Wow.
it's crazy. And then at 30, for every 6 enemies hit by the swim ring, she refills the super gauge by 250 and resets the speed boost to 120. It's incredible.
So I think that's maybe this is the next meta. We did the interrupt thing. That's great. Now
Right.
let's do speed manipulation.
Speed manipulation is crazy. Like before this, we had B Zangief, right? Now we have another. Like this is the best speed unit in the game now.
Well, he was just fast. He didn't,
Right.
and he manipulated his own speed just to be faster. But
Right.
we're talking about debuff, and if you run Osama Ibuki and Mummy Dhalsim, they're both reducing the enemy's speed.
Correct.
So if you
Correct.
reduce their speed and boost your speed,
Yeah. And she gets stronger as the match goes too. The more her speed increases, the more damage she deals. And then when you have 6 vehicles, every time she deals true damage with her passive, she increases her attack by 1% and it stacks up to 20 times and it's permanent. Like,
wow.
She is wild. Like I'm honestly a little surprised that she's just a regular masterclass. For PvP, she's going to be insane. I think she's going to be really good.
Really going to be good for PvP. She's going to be really good for bosses.
Yeah.
I think she's just going to be really good.
If you can get gear on her and get her to SS and get her to FS30, you're going to see instant change in your gameplay, I think. Now, granted, I don't have her, but as far as using her in the trials go, I was incredibly impressed with her functionality. So I think this is a slam dunk drop for sure, and I'm
I
really
think
happy
she's
that she's
slam
a
dunk.
divination pull and not a special summon, because she is really good. And divination
Yeah.
can feel difficult, it can feel unattainable, but the more you progress in the game, the easier it becomes. I'm telling you. As long as you just are focusing one fighter, don't draw for them all, pick one, and just go for it until you get to the usable level.
Yep.
It's not so bad. I've got athlete Chun-Li to SS already, and it's because I just focused her, and she's great. Summer Ibuki's going to be incredible. So I think those are pretty solid reviews for now. This is day one, right? I mean, we need to definitely do some more testing with them, hopefully unlock them ourselves at some point. But
You know, we just needed that debuff unit. And I
yeah,
think Mummy Dhalsim is that debuff unit for bosses. Like,
sure.
it's the for PvP and PvE, and it's not a boss. Like, the fights are just gonna be over too quickly, guys.
Right. Right. Agreed. And it's conditional on the 6 vehicles, I think, as well as the FS plus 30. So it is quite an investment.
Like,
But
a better debuff on a PvP in a PvP situation would be like a dispelling their buff, disrupting that way.
sure.
But even then, somebody like Combat Guile doesn't do enough, or T-Hawk, it's not enough
Right.
to like,
Yeah, the
because
dispelling units are kind of lacking, you
you're
know?
you're well you're kind of then banking on the fact that they're gonna end up dispelling something that's vital to the enemy team,
Correct. You have no control over what
but you have no
debuff or
control
buff
over
gets
that. So
removed.
so
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a different unit in,
Right.
you know,
Right.
somebody that I know what I'm manipulating.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think over time I'll definitely be getting Mummy Dhalsim. I don't plan right now to like specifically build him. Uh, but man, Summer Ibuki has my attention 100%.
Summer Ibuki's really good, guys.
Yeah, for real. All right, guys. Well, I
Okay.
think that's a solid review for these two for today. Please let us know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And stay tuned for the next videos. We've got quite a few more coming out here. The more content they keep releasing, the more content that we have to make. So don't forget to hit the subscribe, throw a like on the video, comment as well. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Later.